Many people ask me, do you know some or all the agents who are connected to Bishop Muge's assassination? Well, I would say that all agents who were connected in Bishop Muge's death, they themselves do not know each other. Maybe somebody who was in the headquarters, if he's not very old now, maybe such a person is the one who can know because he was coordinating everything. But it is quite hard for one individual to come up and know all those people who are connected. It is very hard to find a person. But my estimate is that all those agents who were involved, they total about 40. I can place it at around 40. I know a handful. I know a handful of them who are connected in that. And that is how I came to know the truth about it. Whether they are still alive or not, I don't know. Because I remember the last person I met at Nyati House was around 2005. And it is his reaction, as you will see, it is the way he reacted that came to make me know that he was among them. I'll come to that. So I know a handful. Whether they are still alive or not, I do not know. I will start with 4 agents. There are those 4 agents who pursued uh, Bishop Muge from Eldoret to Busia and back. But I have to tell my viewers that in cases where I know an individual, I am unable to mention their names. I am unable to just go and there and say, oh, you see, eh, Wanangaliwa Kulecho was one of them, and this and this. I am unable to mention their names on this platform. I have had a few of my videos pulled down by YouTube when I have given full details. I have given, YouTube administrators have had to pull down a number of my videos which have given full details. So if I give full names and whatever, when a person whom identifies knows I have talked about him, he will launch a complaint. And what YouTube does is that they'll declare that the video does not meet its standard. But when somebody comes, I don't care. I can mention names. People know me for that. And I'm ready to appear in Kenyan court to defend myself. But what happens? But what happens with the YouTube is that once somebody complains, it is pulled down. I have no way of reacting to it. I have to edit it, or I have to let it go without that. So that is the only reason is why should a few of you watch and then it is stopped for others to watch? That is the one and only reason why I will not disclose people's name on my YouTube channel. Not just this particular recording, but on this channel. I can say that there is a police driver in the capital city who befriended a widow, and they were selling family land near Giraffe Center. I mentioned his name, and I mentioned even the police station he works in. That video was pulled down by YouTube. A second case is of a detective also working in the same under the same command area with the police driver. I talked about him. I even gave the telephone number of this police detective. And as usual, when people watch video and you have given somebody's telephone number, they started what they say kumsalimia. They started kumsalimia, and YouTube themselves pulled that one down. So the only reason I can't mention names here is that YouTube may bring down this video, as I have said. Now back to the four agents. I want to go back to the four agents who were in the vehicle that pursued the bishop from Eldoret all the way to Busia and back. I want to talk about them. Actually, the vehicle left Nairobi with three agents. The vehicle left Nairobi with three agents. The fourth one was an Eldoret-based agent. Was an Eldoret-based agent whom I'll use his nickname. I'll use his nickname. His nickname was or is Addiscom. Addiscom. Now the local Addiscom, that is the local agent, was a Luhya from Busia, and he is the one who gave me over 75% of all information I have on Bishop Muge. He is the singular person who has given me more information than all other informations put together. I put it at around 75% of the information. This agent, whom we will call Addiscom, not his real name, he was summoned by the Deputy District Intelligence Officer, then an acting superintendent, and told to prepare for guests from Nairobi, and he was given a brief. Those guests, now the three, the Deputy District had been told to expect those three, and he was briefed on radiophone. We had a telephone which was called RT, radio telephone. The information was to be given to the boss. The boss was an SSP, a Bukusu. The Bukusu SSP was not in the office. His deputy, an acting superintendent, is the one who was in the office who received the information and instructions that some people are coming and they needed a local person to chaperone them around. Now, this deputy was a Luo. He's the one who was given the instruction on phone, on RT, radio telephone. And he is the one who identified Addiscom. And when he identified Addiscom as the most suitable person to chaperone these people around, I read the deputy DSIO was a Luo by tribe, as I said. I read his obituaries and that he died when he had attained the rank of SSP. I've never met his relatives and whatever. I've never met colleagues who would brief me from the time he died, but I attribute his death to a normal one and not related to our work. Unless I meet in future somebody who is well versed with his death, I want to assume that he died a natural death, just a death like everybody will die. There are those who die, whether young or old, there are those who die a natural death. That means sickness, road accident, or anything, but dying like any other person. And there are those who die through the same condition, but there is a human hand on it. I want to believe that this deputy boss died a natural death. It has nothing to do with his professional work. Now let's go back to the local agent, the one I call Addiscom, a constable. And as I've said, he was a a lawyer from Busia. I will not mention his name because you know what I've just said. But he previously, I said he's a lawyer from Busia, and I say that he previously was stationed in Lugari. He was previously stationed in Lugari in Kakamega before he was transferred to Eldoret. So he fitted the bill because when things get hot, he would have been required for for two things, for a few things. One, if they are stopped by traffic police or anything, he could just pull down the window and look at the traffic officer, and the traffic officer would know him, and they'd pass. Two, should there be a blocked road or anything there, and is conversant with the road from Busia to Eldoret, he would have known which Panya routes they would take and rejoin the road ahead to avoid certain sins. So that is why he was chosen. But as I said, he's the one who gave me 75% of what I know. So I'll talk about him later. Allow me to briefly talk about the crew commander. The crew commander. The vehicle had 4 people. The vehicle had 4 people, and I said the 3 came from Nairobi. 3 came from Nairobi, and Addiscom joined them. Addiscom joined them to make the 4th. So allow me to talk about the inspector who was the crew commander. Mm, he is the actual murderer of the bishop. But it goes without speaking that even if Addiscom today accepted to come out clean and say everything that he knows, it is quite possible that he does not know the name and the identity of the inspector who was the crew commander. Why? Because in such a situation, maybe the 3 knew each other very well because they worked in one station. But when they came to that, there was also, as a security precaution, they adapt nicknames. And it is quite possible that in an identification parade, Addiscom, the local agent that I've nicknamed Addiscom, may know the person physically and whatever, but he may not know the name. Or in later days, maybe due to the course of work and transfers or anything, or due to this particular case, they may have met and known each other in their real names. The 3 knew Addiscom's full names, but Addiscom, they supplied him with the nicknames. So the inspector was the actual murderer. We will come to that. He was an inspector. He arrived in Eldoret, and after mentioning the password to the deputy district special branch officer, who was an acting superintendent, he was then introduced and handed over Agent Addiscom. Now, those who have handled police signals, you know, Addiscoms were D district officers, and this agent's name was the Christian name was Adi, and the family name was, as the surname was O, so it was D-O. D-O, that is what Addiscom. Luos, and of course my father has had a Luo name, but Luos and Luyas from Busia, they normally have male names starting with an O. Male name starting with an O. Okondo is Luya, but starts with an O. So this fellow was from Busia, and his second name was starting with an O. He said that on their way, he accompanied them from Eldoret to Busia, and also from Busia to Eldoret. When they reached Eldoret after the whole thing, they dropped him and went. But when they arrived in Busia, when they went and arrived in Busia, and upon arrival, asked for permission from the inspector to visit his people. So whatever crusade and whatever was happening in Busia, this fellow, the agent from Eldoret, is not aware. He was with his people. But when they were ready to come back to to Eldoret, he was there and came with them. In both ways, while on both ways, while going and coming back, they were trying to 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 to, to make the bishop cause an accident. They would make scenes. That is exactly what happened to Robert Ouko when he was leaving Kericho on his way back to Kisumu. But that is a story for another day. It is this way that they make a lot of and make signs, the middle finger and whatever. They irritate you and make sure that you know that you are being followed. That is what we call hostile surveillance. Surveillance, you are not supposed to. You are not supposed to even have an idea that you are being pursued. But hostile is you are being made to know that you are. They make you paranoia, so that you can have an accident and so on and so forth. So when they reached Busia, he asked for permission. He was given permission. Then when they came back, they did that. Uh, on the way back, the bishop, because the bishop knew that he was being pursued through hostile surveillance. Remember, the bishop was also an intelligence officer who worked with the rec company. You know, rec company is okay. We also have a rec company with the NIS, the one which is SOG. It recently was featured on local TV stations. So he knew what was happening, and when he arrived at Cape Karen, well, he arrived at Cape Karen, and he wanted to shake them off. He reached a stage where at the river he saw a lorry that was emitting soot. He saw a lorry that was emitting soot, so he decided to overtake that lorry. The decision was made between the two bridges. There is the bridge where the river goes under the road, and the second bridge is the rail goes over the road. Between there is when the bishop decided to zigzag using that suit as a cover, and then come back on his road and then shake off the pursuers. Unfortunately, the oncoming lorry was faster than expected. The oncoming lorry was faster than what the bishop had expected. It was faster because the driver had stolen school milk. The driver had stolen school milk. The milk which was called Nyayo milk. The driver had stolen school milk and he was running away from the school stores. You know, anybody who steals anything, I can give you a good example, is phone snatchers. Immediately he gets your phone and he takes off. He can even be hit by a car. So the bishop, when he saw another lorry coming, he knew that he could zigzag between the two lorries. And then when he zigzags between the two lorries, by the time this other oncoming lorry passes, the pursuers would have had some time to rearrange themselves, and by then he would have really taken a long distance, and they would not even find him. But what he did not know is that the lorry that was coming was a lorry that had stolen milk, and the driver was running as fast as possible. So he was running twice the speed of he was supposed to be. So they met face to face, and both decided at the nick of the second to give the other the way around. You know, both of them had guilty feeling. The bishop was guilty because he was driving on the lorry's side. And the lorry driver was guilty because, first of all, he was overspeeding, and two, he was in possession of stolen goods. So both of them, in a nick of a second, decided to leave the road, and they decided at the nick of a second to leave the road and go to the other side or off road. If one of them, would have decided to give the other a chance and the other one maintain the road, there would never would have been an accident. But both of them decided to leave the road and go to the side of the road, and that is where they met head-on collision. When they had met head-on collision, the inspector came out with a handkerchief, a white handkerchief which was laced with poison. He told the other three to remain in the vehicle, and he would be back. Now, whatever poison was placed in the vehicle, in the white handkerchief, only the inspector knows and only God knows. So he went there, pretended to be wiping out the poison, the blood from the nose and the mouth of the bishop. But as he was doing so, the bishop was breathing in poison. He knew what was happening. You see, in such an accident, your body, especially him, his chest hit the steering wheel and whatever. So these people were temporarily PWDs, people living with disability. Uh, they were temporary people living with disability. And since they were temporarily people living with the disability, uh, Bishop knew what was happening. You see, the disability is physical disability, but not mental. So the bishop knew what was happening, and he knew that he was being killed. That is why the bishop said that let the will of the God happen. I have talked about the person who works for. I've already talked about the person who works for the bishop. He lost his consciousness and then regained. His story is not the same as mine. You see, even two people in a scene of an incident cannot say the same thing. I'm not trying to say he is whatever, but I'm saying what I know. It is only that when everybody comes up with his version of story, that we can come up with a middle one which can now tell everything. Now that is the inspector. So according to Addiscom, he never disclosed to me the identity of the inspector. He never disclosed to me, and I just said that. But what I did not know is that inspector the he read all the documents, the TGRC. He read he read the item in the Daily Nation, the Sunday Nation. He saw it on TV, and he came and concluded that I knew his identity. Why? Because I talked of everything except naming him. Well, I've always said I don't mind naming here or anywhere or anytime. But that time, I did not name him because I didn't know him. I did not know him, so I could not name him. I just knew there was an inspector. So one time, after when Kibaki was the president, I had talked all these things. I once met the inspector. Yes, I met that inspector face to face. Now I know you're asking yourself, how did I meet somebody and know it was him? I had gone to the Utali house, which is next to Nyati. I had gone to see a deputy permanent secretary called Mr. Mungasia. I had visited him, and after meeting Mungasia, I decided to say hi to a few people I know at Nyati house. Then I met this fellow who was very hostile to me. He was very hostile to me. He told me, Kwatenge, waja kujifanya. You know, when I acted as if I was surprised, you are my friend and you are very hostile to me. He told me, kwa Tenge, wacha kujifanya. You are sacked and you want to revenge through me. You see, being sacked is bad. That is what he told me. But what do I want? I want him to be, not just be sacked, but to be jailed. I said, but why? Why should I? You are my friend and you are whatever ABCD, and why should I have that? If there is anybody, I can be again. I said, wacha kujifanya, you know what you're saying. I was confused. I asked how. To cut the long story short, the guy mentioned what I had said to the various bodies about the operation. He talked a lot of things and said everything. And he told me that the evidence I was giving was so clear and so truthful that in today's world, we can say that the only person who can do exactly that is somebody called CCTV. Said you talked everything of whatever happened to the clearest. Now I didn't know what topic he was talking because I talked a lot. I talked about Muge, I talked about Ouko, I talked about so many things. I didn't know which one he was meaning. I left Nyati House confused. We departed while he was hostile. That night, I revisited the story. I remembered what he was saying, and he's insisting it was at night that everything now came out clear. Uh, it came out clear that after him reading all the reports, after him watching all the videos and whatever, and my saying and everything, he just came to a conclusion that I knew it was him. Ole wake, should he have known that I didn't know his name, he should not have disclosed himself. He should not have blown his identity. But after looking at that at night, reviewing what he talked and whatever, I zeroed in on the fact that he was the inspector who was in charge of the operation and the actual murderer of the bishop, because he's the one who wiped the bishop's mouth and nose with a white handkerchief which which was laced with poison. Why white? White was done deliberately. Remember the death of Masinde at the airport? No, not Masinde at the airport. I'm trying to remember which other accident. Oh, there is not Masinde at the airport. There is the other Masinde who was the MP for Madare, who had an accident near City Mortuary. After having an accident, people came and wiped his nose with a white handkerchief, and he died within hours. So the white handkerchief is deliberate. So because when somebody is wiping the blood, white is the color that portrays itself, the color of blood so much that it is now known. I mean, people give you a chance to, without knowing that he's killing you. I revisited what the constable told me, and putting two and two together, I realized that indeed this inspector was the crew commander. In the first standing orders, then, which today has been converted into service standing orders, the police boss can recruit any specialist and gazette him as a superintendent of police. That is, in the old constitution, the commissioner of police had those powers. In the new constitution, the inspector general of police has those powers. To gazette somebody to the rank of superintendent. The head of the technical team that was coordinating the two operations that year, that is the Ouko murder and the Muge murder, was gazetted straight to the rank of senior assistant commissioner of police. Why he was not gazetted to be a superintendent, I don't know. Okay, whenever the director of intelligence would call for heads of the provinces and heads of formations, usually they were maybe of that rank. But then, Why be given that rank of senior assistant commissioner of police when his salary was just comfortable and whatever? But what I want to say is that he was a specialist in communication, and is the one who used to you know, for an operation that is that is being done in Kisumu and in Eldoret, it needs a lot of coordination, especially on matters of communication. So the in charge of communication, immediately after the assassination of True, he was gazetted from civilian to a senior assistant commissioner of police. I have talked of previous attempts on MUGE'S life. I can say that all those who participated in, I can say that all those who participated in everything from the start could be around 40, but that is just my estimation. So nobody, as I said, nobody can tell you how many they were. They could be more, they could be less, but I'm talking of about 40 people. I'm also talking about the 40 because it would be very good if one or more of them can come. You see, for somebody who participated in whatever is happening, can give a more clearer report than a desk officer. A desk officer is somebody whom we call a sub-editor. Now, if anything happens out in Habaswein, the reporter who was in Habaswein can give a more clearer report than a sub-editor in the media house headquarters. The driver and the other agent, I may never come to know, especially uh, especially if I can say that they may be dead, because if I am now in my mid 60s, if now I am in my mid 60s, then they are not young. That is, if they are still alive, they may not be young because uh, they could be either late 70s or in their 80s. Now, for somebody who is in his 80s and whatever, and this is something I want to tell you, that generation that we took over from, it is very secretive. If you find anybody who has worked in the disciplined forces who is in his 80s and 70s, they would even if they would even not even tell you the name of their class instructor when they were recruited. They think that that is a government secret. So if they are still alive, they are in their 70s and 80s. They may be senile, or they could be in a generation that who do not want to disclose government secrets. Now, on the agent who was based in Eldoret, who came from Busia and previously worked, his story is long. His story is long. That is why I saved for the last. And that is why I said he supplied me with 75% of what I know. When I was transferred to Eldoret, I had less than 5 people that I knew in Eldoret. The reason is Eldoret being near home. Whenever I found myself in Eldoret, I would not socialize in Eldoret. I would just take a vehicle straight home. So I had no social life experience in Eldoret because of the reasons that I've said. Uh, Although I knew about 5 people in Eldoret, but I didn't know a lot of people. So when the salary came, the first month that I was new in Eldoret, when the first salary came, everybody in the office disappeared. We used to have this system that you'd be given all the money in cash, and in the first few days, you'd be in a jovial mood. So everybody escaped from the office, and they were pleased that I was there without a pay. They were pleased because I would be the first person in the office and the last person in the office. Remember, the office had to have somebody in the office at any given time. The office had to have somebody at the office at any given time. So they used to have a problem at the end of the month because everybody wants to go and celebrate. But for a number of days, I was the only broke person who was staying in the office, and with it fitted all. I had nowhere to go, so I would spend all the time in the office. And then they were out enjoying their salary. Then after they had spent those few days and depleted their pockets, each one came aside and talked to me, because that is the time when I was now expecting my salary. That is the time when I was expecting my salary. Each one would come to me and they told me two things. They told me two things. I want you to listen very well to the two things. They told me that, you see the agent Adiscom? I would say yes. They would tell me Adiscom had two things. He had a very serious government secret that even our boss, an SSP, did not have. The second tip was that agent Adiscom, whenever a new member of staff was transferred to Eldoret, Adiscom would borrow money from the newly posted person, and once you lent him money, he would never pay you. So I was told that any money that you'll agree, whether you give him the whole amount that he has requested for, or you give him part of what he has requested, know that the money you are giving, you will never recover. Just treat it as a gift. As you will see, that those two tips were very important, even though the outcome will come as I will tell you. But it is good that they told me that that agent usually borrowed money. That agent usually used to borrow money with no intention of uh, repaying. And whatever money you'll give them, remember, you will never get it. The other thing they were telling me is that, as an intelligence officer, just like an journalist, you tell him that there is a story here, he will try to find it. He'll take all the time to try and find out what this story you are saying. What is this story that we are being told that a constable knows a lot of government secrets that an SSP does not know? Now came the day of my pay. Now came the day of my pay. Uh, you see, that month, the government had stopped for a month or so paying by bank. The reason was they were trying to, you had to physically collect your pay. You had to physically collect your pay. The government had discovered that there were so many ghost workers. There are so many ghost workers whose salary was going to their bank accounts. So the government wanted for a month or so, you had to physically collect your pay. You had to physically collect your pay. And my pay was taken to Mandera. I had not yet been transferred. And I was staying with Wecheche Mukolongolo. I was staying with Wecheche Mukolongolo, who by that time was a corporal. And Wecheche Mukolongolo kept distance. I want to say that the few occasions that I had a drink or something, Wecheche Mukolongolo he would take me to a place, say, have a beer, have whatever. And I would be shy that a junior officer who is accommodating me was buying me drink. So I would just take it as a word of honor. But when my salary came, Wecheche also kept himself at a distance. I would have understood if he's the one who was around me, but he kept a safe distance. But this person, the agent called agent that we are calling Adiscom, was all over me. It was literally like a bodyguard next to me, guarding somebody who has, imagine having taken a loan from a bank or something, a million, and you have a police officer who is armed with a pistol, hovering around you, trying to offer security. It was something like a picture like that, a picture like that. But throughout, he was urging me to give him a loan. I can't recall how much it was, but he was begging for a loan as though he had found a cheap thing that if he didn't buy immediately, it would be bought somewhere by somebody else. Or he was urging me in a way you would even think that his life depended on the loan. If I didn't give him the loan, maybe he would die. I request you to put at least 100 shillings to recover the amount, even though I'll tell you about it later. Put that 100 shillings, please, in the pay bill number. to offset that. But as I've said, I will explain you about the loan later. First problem first. I had a lot of things to buy, but didn't know which one to start with. Transfer from a distant places, especially from the forward areas, you just carry your belongings. You have to buy utensils, you have to buy furniture, you have to buy a lot, curtains, you have to buy a lot of things. Where do you start? Uh, Agent Addiscom said, boss, that is easy. He liked calling anybody senior in rank as boss, but not as a Funde. There's no time he ever called a person senior to him in rank as a Funde. He used to like calling a person senior to him as boss. Said, boss, that is easy. We went to KCT, Kenya Credit Traders. Uh, I wanted a 6x6 bed. Is it called a king size bed? I don't know. But it was named Kasarani. I'm told it was named Kasarani because it was a large field. A large field for a game that I was never told. I don't know which game they used Kasarani as a large field. Anyway, there was a bed 6x6. I also wanted a sofa set. I wanted the Kasarani bed. I wanted a sofa set. The Kenya Credit Trader said, no, 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 no. You can only take one item. After you clear with that item, you can come for the second item. That was the company policy. Now I started thinking, what do I take? Do I take a sofa set? Do I take a bed? They are both important. I was so confused. But Agent Addiscom said, boss, kama hawa hawataki, let's go to ART. Let us go to ART. I'm sure they'll accept we take the two items. We were stopped at the gate. We had stopped at the door. I ended up taking two items, Kasarani bed and the sofa set. Next was a TV area. I had bought a TV, a colored TV in Mandera. Those days, having a color TV, hey, when Ouko and Muge died, those who know, it was hey, something to behold if you have a color TV. Next was to get an aerial. We went to an Indian shop. The Indian knew him and feared Addiscom. He knew he was an agent. So Addiscom told me, boss, weka kitu kidogo, you will clear the rest next month. So I just placed a deposit for the area. He turned to the Indian, said, give him a special area since he has a sharp, yeah, the TV make was sharp, 14-inch color TV. The Indian asked him who I was, and he told him, that's my boss. And you know, the Indian is scared of Agent Addiscom. Now, getting a person whom Agent Addiscom is scared of, you get the picture. I was given the area. And a free installation. The installer saw that I stayed at Wecheche Mukolongolo's whole house in the police quarters. Obviously, went and said, yeah, that is a police officer. So that is this Agent Addiscom was a constable and I was a confirmed inspector. My salary, you add the house allowance, you add the hardship allowance, it was totaling to four more. It is like times 4 the salary of Agent Addiscom. Yet he was still urging me for a loan. Boss, nipatie ile loan ya pesa fulani. This is someone who wants money that I'm told he will never return. He has literally assisted me get full furniture and even assisted me in carrying those furniture. Yeah, he was so helpful. But he kept on asking for a loan. Boss, idea loan. Yet again, he had deep government secret that I really wanted him to tell me. So I turned to him and asked him to tell me a good place where we can get a drink and a bite. He told me there are many places, but he chose Mahindi Hotel. Since being new to Eldoret, he wanted me to a place where it was next to the police station, where I get used to Mahindi, that place, and then in future I can get used to other social places, because being new in Eldoret, I could get lost. But with Mahindi, I would just cross the road and go to the police station. I said, once you get used to it, you can go to other places. So we went to Mahindi Hotel. We had drinks and meat. Yet he kept insisting, boss, kale kalon usisahau. If you are investigating something, from the start, you don't get drunk. It is not an idea that I decided to investigate that time. No, from when I decided we would go there, I still wanted to give him the money, but to me, I have bought that secret. So, in such a situation, you can even drink a lot of beer, but you don't get drunk, because uh, you are ridho. Kenyans know what we mean by being ridho. You encourage your subject to drink, and you know how drunkards feel when told, kunywa kabisa, leo nimejaza vitu kwa nyumba because of you. Anybody who has a relative who drinks, or he himself drinks, will know that getting free beer and being encouraged, kunywa hata kunywa haraka vile utakavyo, you will really drink. So here were two spies. One has drunk free beers and quickly, and so was drunk. The other one, even though he had taken more than average alcohol, he was ridho, just waiting for the appropriate time to strike. Then came the question. It was a direct question, because I had seen that he was already drunk. What is this thing that I hear that only you know? That the our SSP does not know. The deputy boss and acting superintendent of police does not know. Yet you as a constable know. At that time, maybe I expected to hear that he knows about Moi's girlfriends. Maybe I expected to hear that he was the one who used to escort Moi's girlfriend to Eldoret State Lodge, because those are some of the secrets that were of that nature, that they could get a young man to look for girls for Moi, such a thing. It's a long story, it's for another day. So I expected him to have a very particular thing about the Moi family, but not what I got. He looked left and right, looked left and right. No, he was not looking to see if anybody was watching. He was just looking to see if an intelligence officer was around. In those days, another intelligence officer would have gone and disclosed that he's spreading the story. So, being sure that there was none, he then told me that he was the local agent who was instructed to chaperone the other three from the national headquarters. He told me the A to Z of whatever happened. So, everything that I usually say, of course, nowadays I've come to realize some versions which I in my head I've corrected, but I've stuck with what he has said, because if you keep on changing, at the end of the day, you'll change your story and it will be so different. So I've decided to stick to what he told me that night. He told me A to Z, and whatever I later discovered, I didn't have to alter what he had told me. Everything I've always talked, even I've met the family of Bishop Muge and whatever. I have always stuck, and I will always stick to what he told me that day at my India house. Of course, later on, before Kibaki became the president, I met several people who gave me clearer pictures and whatever. So my story, I decided, and I've always stick to a story as per what I knew on or before Kibaki. My cutoff day is the day Kibaki was sworn in. Any information that I've gathered after Kibaki came to the office, because you could compare your notes with other people, I have decided to stick with what I was told up to the day Kibaki was sworn in. Any new information, that is for personal information, but I've always stuck. Even those stories that I've come to realize that surely here, I have always stuck with that. So that those people who know the other thing, they come out public and we come out public, then a third independent person, neutral person, comes with one story while amalgamating this. I asked him at the office when nobody was around to clarify things that, a few days later, after reviewing whatever he had told me, there are those things which I could not understand. So I could ask him at the office when nobody was present to substantiate here and there, and he told me. It was after I got substantive information that I asked him how much he had asked for in loan. He told me about the amount, and I gave him the amount. That very same month, a few weeks later, a relative of mine, Davis Kaka. Davis Kaka, I call him Davis Kaka because the Kaka is his mother's name. We usually, if somebody is your relative and his mother is your relative, okay. In short, Kaka is his mother's name. So Davis, we were having a drink, and Davis is JI-TENGE's great grandson. So I am his maternal uncle. We were having a drink at the very, very same Mahindi hotel when Agent Addiscom came. When he came, he sat at our table, and my nephew bought him a drink. Addiscom then told me to pass a hand under the table, to pass a hand under the table. And when I passed the hand under the table, it was money. I was shocked. That time people had gotten their salary, but me, I was yet again to wait for a week for mine to come from Mandera. But when Addiscom told me to greet him under the table, I greeted him and I saw he had given me some. And when I checked it, I asked him, "What is it for?" Told me, "Can't you remember?" I said, "I can't remember." I could not remember because in the office, they had told me that once he gives you a loan, once he gets a loan from you, forget about it. So when I'd given him, I'd forgotten about it. Another thing is, when I gave him, my mentality was that I was buying the information. So I told him, "I don't understand." He told me, let us rush to the urino. We went to the urino, and then he told me, "Do you remember the loan you gave me in this very same place?" I said, "What? Yeah, what about it? That is your money. Count. You'll find it is the exact amount you gave me." He said, "Hey, but anyway, I had forgotten about." I didn't tell him that people had said. I just told him, but I had forgotten about the money. He said, "Maybe it is because you are drunk. This is your money, and I can't stay with your money." Then I told him, "Okay, in that case, since I had forgotten about the money, and I don't want the money, and since your conscience tells you that you must repay the money, why don't we go to the table and drink that money?" So we went to the table and drank that money. It can only be explained as fate. It can only be explained as fate. Supposing my colleagues did not tell me that he never pays loan. Supposing my colleagues would not, I would not even have pursued him all the time to tell me the secret, isn't it? But how, but how comes that he paid me in full? Everybody was sure, and everybody in the office was sure that once he gets your money, he'll never pay you. And I even never asked him even once to refund the money or anything. He just came to me, found me there, said, "Here's your money." I can only say that it is only fate that did that, that made the members of staff tell me that he never pays loans. And it is also the same fate that I undertook to use that as a bait to get the information, and so on and so forth. Supposing that lineup didn't happen, I would not have known what I would have known. But anyway, A preacher will tell you that everything happening, good or bad, it happens for a purpose. It is for a purpose that Addiscom never repaid loans. It also for a purpose that Addiscom decided to pay me. It is also for a purpose that people pre-warned me not to give him loan. And all those things, I can only explain that the Almighty God made it possible. I would believe for over 20 years now, from the time when Kibaki took over, I believe that all those who were connected in MUGE'S death and all those people who were connected in other deaths, from the day Kibaki was sworn in, I believe it that if you come out clean and tell the people the truth, you will even be more beneficial than everybody else, because I know you are living with a guilty conscience. Amen.